You know, and the legs, and you're going.
But it was all brand new, Pat. I mean, the whole thing was happening. It was all in real time, like, you know.
It was in real time, and many places we were only learning about the bands as we were going along as well. You know, because there was a bit of a scene, and it was it was mostly refined to Dublin, maybe Cork, and maybe a little bit in Belfast and Derry. As Rory was testament to that. You know, those are the areas that you could really play in, that you would give any kind of interest in what you were doing. So again, for us, it was like you had to go down to Belfast, or you had to go to Derry, or you had to go to Dublin to make inroads.
But sure, I suppose the kids that were coming to the gigs were educating themselves at the same time nearly as yourselves. The music was new, you know.
That's funny. I mean, you talk about that. That's how the name The Professor came around, the nickname.
Right.
That's actually what we were talking about. I would sit at the front of the stage and I would tell them all about the bands I knew, right? And about what they were doing and how they were doing things, and just, it was pure innocence. We'd sit at the end of the night talking at the end of the day, and they go, you know, what band do you say you go in this? And we would sit talking about it. And we talk about guitars, and we talk. So a couple of nights, our manager came in to get me into the van to go home. And the kids would go, you know, I'll leave the professor, he's talking here, right? And he started calling me that, and that's how the name stuck. And it wasn't over, you know, it was just over the music, over the guitars, and they'd ask you about what amp you were using, you know, because they were starting to have aspirations, and aspirations to play themselves, you know. So they're going, well, if these three lads from Derry Lane, from Manning can do it, we can do it. You know, and that really was the start of it. It was happening. There was a lot of young bands forming and making music, and got, because of what was happening, and because of the success of the Boomtown Rats, and of Rory, and of Lizzie, and of Gary Moore, you know, because of that success, we thought, hang on a second, maybe we could, you know, and they were following suit. And because we were starting to go around the ballrooms in Ireland playing, it was a very select crowd, but they were turning up, you know. So we support bands, and we were all sort of together. It was like a wee band of brothers all together, you know. So we all knew each other from different towns, and it was through that. It was funny. We met a young guy, and he went on to be our Leighton LD when things started to get bigger, and we went to America, and he actually went on. He started. He hadn't a clue. He was from Cork, and he said, "Can I come to America with you guys?" Yeah. And we go, well, John, you can come to America, but you know, you need a visa. And as it transpired, we said, well, we'll sort it out. We'll sort that out for you. And John went on to become Prince's production manager. He stayed in America. I think he used us as a vehicle to get out there. But he didn't know anything about lights. That's how naive the whole thing was. Should I do the lights for you? He goes, you know. And we go, well, yeah, you know. So we started to carry light with a truss, you know, light and truss with the maybe 40 or 50 lights on stage at night, you know, all angle. And John was looking after all that, and he was learning as he was going along.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, so he ended up coming to America, because then we were playing with the likes of, we were playing with Bon Jovi, we were playing with Rat, with Twisted Sister, Rush. You know, you name it, we were playing out there with them. So they wouldn't do the lights for you. You had to have your own LD. So John went on, and they were very impressed. And the next thing I'd heard, John was production manager, Leighton LD for Prince. So he went on to do really big. Sadly, I think he's passed away since, but he was only very young. But that's how we were then. We were all just a band of brothers together. And you know, if it was an engineer, he learned. Peter Clare was just a friend who became our engineer, and he was really good. I've heard some footage of us playing with the Scorpions in the Hammersmith Odeon. Years later, a guy sent it to me, of us actually playing, and I couldn't believe the sound that he had got, because we had no idea what it was like out front, and we're going, he was really on the money. So he was learning as well as we were learning. So it was this little band of guys on the road together, you know, and together we just went round like that, and we were learning. It was a big learning curve for everybody. But of course, you know, all the music that we were listening to helped to steer us and guide us in many respects. All we wanted to do was to try and follow in the footsteps of those great bands, and try and emulate what they were doing. And that led, after the Lizzie tour, we ended up doing a show in the Marquee in London. And it's all luck. A lot of it is luck. I always say that about the music industry. We were there playing in the Marquee after the Lizzie tour, our own sold out gig in the Marquee in London. And the manager of the Marquee Club in London was also Elton John's manager, and he also run the Reading Festival. And I can't remember his name now, but he stood and watched us play. And you have to remember, we had no record deal at this stage. We had a distribution deal, which was nothing. They were just putting the record out for us. We weren't getting anything. You know, we had no record company help to promote the band or none of that. It was just a distribution deal we had with Almira. And he stood there and he watched about 15 minutes of it, and he says, I'm putting that band on in Reading. And Joe couldn't believe it, you know. He couldn't believe his luck. This is just incredible. And he says, who are they signed? They're not signed to anybody. Oh, he went. Oh, it doesn't matter, he goes, I'm putting them on. So to this day, we are the only unsigned act ever to have played Reading Festival. And that is, the Kerrang journalists will tell you, they'll do the homework, they'll tell you exactly the same thing. We weren't signed when we played there. And we played for 50,000 people with Black Sabbath that day. And we weren't even signed to a major record label. And that's when they came crawling out of the woodwork, that day. And we released, by this stage, this is 1982 I'm talking about, by this stage we had released a song to coincide with the festival. And it was called Too Little of You to Love. It was on the Turn It Up album. It was kind of a ballad thing. And it charted. The next 2 weeks it went into the top 40. We couldn't, in the UK, we couldn't believe it. It would stay back out again, but that's beside the point. It went in and had a look and then went back out again. But that was the power of the Reading Festival, and that was the power, and that was purely coincidence. If he hadn't been there that night, he just happened to be down, I don't know, he's looking after business, whatever. And if he hadn't been there, he wouldn't have seen us and nothing would have happened. And that's how we got that Reading Festival. And then a bidding war started then. We had David Geffen flying in from America